Hey everyone, JCS StarCraft here, bringing you Game 1 of the Semifinals for the Homestory Cup in the winners bracket. And action getting started here between BratOK and DeMusliM. BratOK going to be spawning as the red Terran in the upper right-hand corner, DeMusliM spawning as the teal Terran in the bottom left-hand corner. Now DeMusliM is Britain's top Terran player and probably Britain's top StarCraft 2 player. Actually a very strong Terran player and has a ridiculous winning ratio on the on Battle.net ladder. I think it's something like 80%. Not quite sure how he does it, but is in tip-top shape and definitely one of the top ranked players in the world. BratOK, of course, needs no introduction. One of the stronger Terran players from Russia, if not the strongest in Russia, and has recently just done very well across all the cups. He won the Go for SE2 August finale, and then last Wednesday, I think he actually lost against Zoc in that rematch that they had. So right now both players just getting started, getting down. DeMusliM going to be throwing down a supply depot out here, I think, possibly just to ward things off or to get a little bit more scouting in his base. And meanwhile, it looks like a pretty regular opening for BratOK right here. This tournament was sponsored by Take, and he actually had the players play in his house. It was the Homestory Cup #1, €500 for the winner, which is a pretty good prize. And the live stream was actually on ESL TV. So if you catch the tournaments live, definitely more exciting than watching a shoutcast of a replay, of course. But definitely check that out. And big props for Take for holding the tournament. If he wants, I just am recasting these so that it's a little bit easier. The ESL TV Flash player, not the friendliest at all times. And right now, just getting this onto YouTube for other players to see, of course, and for everyone to get out. And it looks like pretty standard opening from both players at this point. 12 racks, 13 refinery, same for BratOK. Looks like a 15 on the orbital as well. Kind of a mirror match right now. And of course, it's very Terran mirror matches can be a little bit less exciting than other mirror matches, as for most of the time it can actually degrade down into tank Viking. Usually doesn't on the pro level, especially with players like BratOK, who really favor playing with the ball and just doing a ton of harass across the map. But you never know. You never really know what each player is going to do until they get into the game. I'm pretty sure that DeMusliM and BratOK have met somewhere before sometime, and it looks like right now a second gas going down for DeMusliM. So not too much action going on right now. BratOK going to be moving out and trying to gain control of the watchtower. DeMusliM just running away. Kind of the opening ritual at this point. Neither player really committing to anything, any sort of attacking at this point. We might be seeing a 1-1 from both players. BratOK, it looks like he is just pumping out Marines at the moment. And very good play for all the Terran players out there to never let that first rack stop pumping out Marines while everything else is building. You have a decent sized force army to contend against anything that you'll run up against. And right now it looks like BratOK going to be scouting things out on the backside. Kind of a sneaky SCV here. I'm not sure if he's going to be building anything here or just kind of wants to see if there's anything out there. I doubt DeMusliM would build anything out there, but we'll see for that. And the factory is going down. This might be swapped with the starport. He might be going for Banshees at this point. And a bunker is going down, so it looks like he is taking some sort of defense near his command center. Looking back across, BratOK is getting his starport as well, but no tech lab going down and going to be throwing out a Hellion, so it looks like he is going to be committing to the M&M. And this SCV right here just going to be scouting and making sure, trying to see when his opponent is taking that expansion. DeMusliM going to be throwing down and going for the Banshees right now, so BratOK might be able to push in. It looks like DeMusliM is researching Cloak right away. And BratOK at this point actually might have a little bit of an advantage that he's not going to be teching up to the Banshees and might be able to push in, do some significant damage right now, which looks like that is exactly what he's about to do. So BratOK is going to be pushing in right now, and this might be difficult for DeMusliM to hold. He did throw down this bunker in case anything is about to hold down at his base. A very interesting build from DeMusliM right here. Kind of choking off around his base as well. Knows that, you know, if there is a one base push from his opponent and a scan does go down, so I think he is expecting something to occur right now. that he will be able to kind of hold things out a little bit while his Banshee is coming out, as this timing is very critical for him. He really needs that Banshee to come out, and this lone supply depot, unfortunately, is getting picked off. Now, I'm not sure whether or not this is a good or bad thing for DeMusliM, actually, because it delays the army from moving into his main base, focusing on this supply depot that's just built out in the middle of nowhere, giving DeMusliM just that much longer to build up his forces. So, and reacting very quickly by throwing down that extra supply down. I forgot the exact name. It's called extra supply, actually. So, DeMusliM able to kind of show that he does have the Banshee there and driving BratOK off temporarily. A pretty interesting play right there for DeMusliM to throw out that supply depot, hold off the units a little bit. Very strategic of him to get that out there. And I think BratOK was not able to engage. The Banshee did have time to come out there, and I think BratOK just didn't want to risk attacking at that point, as he knew that there were probably Marines in the wait just going to come down, and there were a ton of Marines actually for DeMusliM in the base. And right now BratOK will be taking his expansion as no pressure from his opponent, and he does have a Raven up in the air to ward off the Banshee that he knew was coming. BratOK trying to go in for some sort of drop there, is warded off by the Viking and has to retreat. Has to be very careful with this medevac, although it can outrun the Viking. Medevac move speeds, I think, actually equal with Viking, so the Viking not going to be able to chase it down at all, and just going to retreat and kind of get situated back at his base as he is taking this expansion. DeMusliM going to be throwing down multiple Raxes, and looking at the army tab really quickly, both players are pretty even as well in the income, and nothing crazy going on both sides. There is a Raven out for DeMusliM as well. He might be anticipating that there might be Banshees coming, or potentially just to be able to throw down that PDD in some sort of defense against possible Vikings, as the starport is out for BratOK right now. And BratOK going to be reinforcing now, going to be getting a lifting off the reactor, and looks like he's going to be pumping out more medevacs or possibly Vikings to kind of counter the air units of DeMusliM. DeMusliM right now has all three, a diverse amount of air units up in the air right now. He just needs a medevac and a battleship to join that, and he will have the full cast of air for the Terran race, and going to be situating himself down, securing his expansion right now at the natural. BratOK going to be doing the same. DeMusliM sending out a scout right now and going to get fried by these Hellions across the base, and both players just getting ready for the mid game and getting ready to bulk up as much as possible. I like this mix of units by DeMusliM now, just roaming out across the field, and BratOK is going to be doing the same. Now, what's interesting is actually DeMusliM, I thought I saw it on the minimap, but it looks like he opted not to get the Vespene at this point, and he has multiple reactors down, so just trying to pump out as many Marines as possible to inflate his army up. What does he see? He might have thrown a scan down into BratOK's base and does see that BratOK is going heavy infantry at this point as well. And both players just kind of a little mid-game lull at this moment as they build up for one big massive battle in the middle is what I'm assuming, but it looks like DeMusliM is going to be moving out at around 90, wants to keep the pressure going and doesn't want to be out macroed. BratOK is going to take the same idea. Looks like they're going to be breaking down their respective rocks at this point, establishing their gold and getting ready for that late game as well. So neither player very strong in the early game, but it looks like the unit composition for BratOK, he has way more Vikings up in the air, and while DeMusliM has more tanks on the ground into the mid-late game, if BratOK decides to go with tanks, this could be very harmful for DeMusliM, as it really is, the tank Viking game really is about who has more Vikings in the air rather than anything else. And I think what DeMusliM is trying to do is gain enough, looks like he's kind of getting ready with a ton of Marines, and could be very unfortunate for him if he goes across with this army into the tanks. And it looks like there is going to be a Hellion harass coming out on the backside, running here to do some damage onto the SCVs, as is very popular on Zanaga cabins, but they're going to be running it right into the Marine fire and Marauder fire, as DeMusliM was kind of ready for that. Will they be able to get off anyone? One SCV does go down. I think maybe just a handful of SCVs. Looking at the income tab, not too much damage done by those three Hellions, unfortunately for BratOK. And going back to the production tab, tanks are coming out for BratOK, as he does See that DeMusliM has them out there as well. Scan now going down for him, and DeMusliM going to be pushing out across. BratOK throwing down Scan, unfortunately isn't able to catch anything there, and DeMusliM going to be taking this tower as well. Units are streaming out across the field. Unfortunately, BratOK is able to siege first, and DeMusliM has to get out of there as soon as possible. Those Marines do not have combat shield and will pop on contact once those tanks go down. So just the 2 tanks of BratOK. However, he does have much superior air support and will be able to scout out much better as well. The Vikings provide that range for the tanks, and DeMusliM knows that he cannot engage, even throws down a PDD to try to defend at that point, but does not have enough anti-air at this point. Really just has the Marines, and they're not going to be enough once the siege tanks have settled down. So unfortunately for DeMusliM, looks like he is settling into the mid game, and this game probably will devolve into tank Vikings with some infantry support on both sides. DeMusliM is going to be taking down his expansion at this point, and BratOK looks like he's going to be opting for the gold expansion. A little bit more risky for BratOK, but I think he knows that he has the air superiority, and that he's just going to reinforce and try to poke and take away any of the air units he can from DeMusliM. That Raven really close to going down, and possibly might get repaired if some SCVs are coming out here during that transfer. So BratOK looks like he's going to be just reinforcing his, looks like he might be getting some Thors as well, trying to take down as much air as possible, and just keeping some of his forces back in case there's any drop on the backside. And now going to be moving out so that he's collecting all his forces. Looks like he's going to be pushing in while he does the transfer. So good timing from BratOK to move in. And looking at the unit count really quickly, we have 7 tanks and 8 Vikings for BratOK, and just 5 tanks. Unfortunately, a lot of Marines out on the field for DeMusliM. I don't think that's the proper unit composition to counter this, and BratOK is just going to react very favorably as well. So right now, I think DeMusliM was anticipating something else from his opponent, and BratOK just doing a great job keeping these down. Oh, taking out that medevac, and at this point, DeMusliM is in a bit of trouble. I'm curious whether or not he's going to keep pumping out Marines, as they're just going to explode on contact once they run into that tank fire. Does have more Marauders coming out at this point, and is going to be taking his expansion finally. Although there is that Marine there that BratOK will be able to detect when it is coming out. BratOK now setting up across the field, and looking at the army count temporarily. Both players are about to max out, so we should be seeing that massive battle in the middle pretty soon. BratOK is going to be holding down the the right Zelnaga watchtower, and does have that air superiority. I think at this point the only chance DeMusliM really has is to catch BratOK unsieged. And now BratOK going to be doubling back at this point. DeMusliM now moving in to attack at the gold, but unfortunately for him, BratOK did sense that coming in, and now that the siege tanks are down, going to be frying this infantry army. The siege tanks not sieging for DeMusliM at all, and just going to try to take as much as he can. A lot of siege fire going down across the field. The tanks might be able to hold out at this point, but no, it looks like all the siege tanks are going down for DeMusliM as the Thor was there, and GG well played from DeMusliM. So unfortunately, the feint from BratOK went down. DeMusliM kind of took the bait, went in, and was unable to siege down, and eventually got overrun. So game 1 goes to BratOK in the winners bracket, and this has been JCS StarCraft signing off.